What causes muscle cramps while exercising?
Freddie, thank you for that question. And I'm kind of laughing because whenever we're like getting ready for something, Brandy says, "Ready, Freddie?" And I'm
Yeah.
like, "Nope, I'm not Freddie." And then she calls me Freddie Dillon.
Yeah.
So, Freddie, amazing question. I'm going to start by saying that eating a banana to decrease muscle cramps is the biggest placebo that I don't want to say in history, but it's up there. It's got to be
It's pretty high.
in the top three. So let me add context to that because that's what a lot of people have done is, oh, I have and this is specific to exercise associated muscle cramps,
Mhm.
not like systemic cramping,
Mhm.
right? Because if someone is having renal failure or other types of conditions, then their body's cramping for other reasons compared to exercise associated muscle cramps. So this is specific to, let's say you're going for a run, you're going up the hill and your calf starts to cramp. That's an exercise associated muscle cramp. So we're going to kind of stay in that lane because the other lane gets very complex and very medical, and we don't want to go down that lane. So for exercise associated muscle cramps, the thought has been, well, you get the cramp because you're not properly hydrated, or you get the cramp because you don't have enough electrolytes. You're low on potassium, sodium, or magnesium. That creates the muscle cramp. So you eat the banana, you drink the pickle juice, you slurp the mustard packet, whatever you've been told, you do that, and the cramp goes away. But the question that we pose, and I don't want to say we, I'm actually going to mention Martin Schwellnus, legit name, not a nickname, Martin Schwellnus from South Africa as a researcher that has dedicated his life to understanding what creates exercise associated muscle cramps. He has this awesome article in the British Journal of Sports Medicine, and he states in there, how long does it take your body to digest a banana? It takes a pretty long time.
Mhm.
What would make you think that once you digested that banana, the body would then go, let's pull all that magnesium, sodium, potassium, and then send it to the calf directly to get rid of that muscle cramp. And let's do that within 2 minutes.
Mhm.
Physiologically, it cannot happen. So what does happen, because I had a cramp, I drank pickle juice, ate a banana, slurped the mustard, and my cramp went away. It was the thought that this thing is going to do that actually decreased the muscle cramp. Same thing with hydration. Oh, I have a muscle cramp. So you slam some water, maybe add some salt tablets into it, and you slam that down, and within 2 minutes, 3 minutes, your cramp is gone. How long does it take that water and salt to actually go through the digestive system, be absorbed, and then taken out and then sent to the rest of your body? It
Mhm.
takes longer than that 2 to 3 minutes. But what does help with a muscle cramp is stretching. So there's something going on in the nervous system that brings on the muscle cramp. And that's what Martin Schwellnus has shown us, is that muscle cramps occur because athletes are playing at a higher intensity than what they're accustomed to. So it tends to happen in football early in the season, week 1, week 2, week 3. We see a bunch of athletes cramping. In rugby, same thing. Early in the season, we see a bunch of cramps. As the season goes on, the cramps are less and less because
Mhm.
now they're accustomed to that high intensity. Really good teams that practice really hard have the lowest occurrence of cramps because they're accustomed to that intensity. But Martin Schwellnus has done research on this. He's looked at cold environments versus warm environments because people say, well, you lose more electrolytes in warm environments, which then would lead you to creating a muscle cramp. So he actually followed runners that were doing marathons in very cold weather. I don't remember the exact degree because it was in Celsius, but I know it was like, for us, it was around 32 degrees Fahrenheit or colder.
Mhm.
And he followed them in a race, half marathon and marathons, and found the same occurrence of cramping as people doing it in warmer climates. So we can't blame it on the weather. We can't blame it on losing sweat and losing electrolytes. For systemic cramping, yes, that can be it. But for exercise associated muscle cramps, no. So what it comes down to is that it's not, you need to be hydrated, but not overhydrated. Because what we see now is that athletes are overhydrating and actually making themselves ill
Mhm.
from having too much water. And the reality is, like, no, man, you didn't work hard enough in the preseason.
Mhm.
So you can drink all the water you want, like, still gonna cramp because
Yeah.
you didn't work hard. So it's really a load management thing that it comes down to. And as far as like stretching works to decrease a cramp, because it's working on the GTO, which is a receptor in the muscle and in the tendon that then sends a signal to say, okay, we can lengthen out the muscle. So that's the neurophysiology part behind it. If you want to learn more about that, reach out and I can send you those articles,
Mhm.
or you can research GTOs. It's one of the only times that I recommend static stretching.
Mm.
It's for muscle cramps. If you have a cramp, you don't need to chug pickle juice. You don't need to slurp mustard packets. You don't need to chomp down on a banana. You need static stretching, and you need a little bit of a break, and then you can go back in. And then once the game or meet or whatever it is over, you have to look at your training load and say, okay, how do I compete more intensely? I'm going to talk about the Chiefs, but not Patty Mahomes.
Okay.
I'm going to talk about Isaiah Pacheco. Love watching him run.
Mm-hmm.
Every time he runs as hard as he possibly can. And the coaching staff says, oh, he doesn't just do that on Sundays or Thursdays or Mondays because there's schedule. Because every day in practice, that's how he runs. I've never seen him cramp, right? So it comes down to, are you prepared for the level that you're going to be working at? And, competing in these events, we can see that when you're in a competition, it drives you to work harder than what you've done not competing. And then you take that and you go, wow, in my daily training sessions, I need to push the pedal a little bit more so that I'm better equipped for what's coming in these competitions.
Yeah, and I think when you push the pedal more too, then you recover better after anyways. And so it goes back to, we say it all the time from our friend Christina Previtt, but it goes back to like, no one wants to be more weak going into a situation. So why don't you work harder in the preparation time, and as you were talking, I thought about when you dove into this research initially a couple years ago, because both your quads cramped while hiking? I had to bring it up.
Yeah, so quick sidetrack story. It's pretty hilarious. So my buddy and I were up in the Adirondacks, beautiful national park, 4,000-foot mountains. Some people are like, that's pretty weenie, but to us, that's pretty big mountain.
It's cool.
It's cool, and they're steep. They're a tough climb, but it's a fun climb. And my buddy and I were going up. We were having fun. We were like parkouring off of rocks. I had the pack, right? I have this sports medicine venue coverage background that my brain immediately goes to. What are the emergency supplies that we're going to need just in case something happens? And some of them I have, so I brought them. The other ones I don't have, like a walkie-talkie or a way to call a ranger if something was to happen, like probably one of the more important things. But we didn't have that. We're like, well, we'll be fine. We'll get to the top. We'll come back down. So we're climbing up it, and I have my pack on, and the pack's probably like 40 pounds because I have all this stuff in it. And my buddy has just a small backpack, just day hike, and he's wearing barefoot sandals. So I'm like, I'm joking around with him. And so we're just running and jumping off the rocks. So we get up to the one high peak, and we're doing 3 peaks that day. So we get to the one peak, start coming down, and my left quad starts cramping, and I'm just like, shut up, quad, you're fine. And this is before I had the research of Martin Schwellnus's work. And I'm like, I know how I can keep going. So I keep going, and then my other quad cramps, and I'm like, I can keep going, and both my quads seized on the trail at the top of the mountain. 4,000 feet, and this was like near the fall. Like, it's really hard to survive that through the night. So we're trying to figure out, like, okay, what are our options here? Like, we need to get to lower elevation. My quads are cramped. They dropped me on the trail, and I'm a push through kind of guy. And both my quads cramped. My buddy turned around and just goes, oh no! And I'm dropped on the trail. I'm trying to rock back into a child's pose to get a stretch on there. He had pickle juice. I chugged it down. Cramps went away. So I associated it with the pickle juice. I'm like, oh, I didn't hydrate enough.
Yeah.
I didn't eat enough food for this hike. In reality, the stretching decreased the cramps. And the cramps came on because I wasn't accustomed to that workload.
Yeah.
Like, I'd been doing box step-ups and stuff in CrossFit, but I wasn't doing parkour on rocks, climbing up this mountain. That's a 6-hour hike.
With 40-pound
With 40-pound pack on my back. But the best part was, well, 2 funny parts. My buddy smashed his toes off so many rocks wearing the barefoot sandals. And then you learn that the copper on the bottom probably doesn't do anything of connecting to the earth to help with his hiking abilities. But that was fun. And we hiked for another 10 hours after that. Some on purpose. Other ones we got kind of lost, but we hiked for another 10 hours after that. And then I drove another 4 hours to get us back without having any cramping after that.
Yeah.
So from the time that we actually do have a cramp to what we can perform, at least for me, what I learned is, wow, I have a really big gap and
Hmm.
when my brain turns on the protection alarm compared to what physiologically I truly have left. But I look back and I'm like, yeah, no, that wasn't electrolyte imbalance. It wasn't because I wasn't hydrated. It's because I wasn't accustomed to what we were doing
Hmm.
of running and jumping off of rocks for 6 hours to
Hmm.
then climb this mountain.
I think it's fair to say we all start somewhere,
Yeah.
right? And we have moments, and I think, a lot of people go to the pickle juice or whatever when they have muscle cramps, but this new information, like you took it, and now in the future, if you are going to go up to the Adirondacks, one, you probably aren't going to do parkour the whole time, but two, you're going to prep a little bit
Yeah.
leading up to it. So Freddie, we hope that you enjoyed those fun stories.
Yeah. And last point I'll make too is that in mindset and placebo research, things that are more foul tasting tend to have a greater impact.
Mm.
Like, I do not like pickle juice. Like some people love it. I like pickles. I do not like drinking pickle juice. People like mustard on sandwiches or other food, but they don't like slurping a mustard packet, right?
Mhm.
So we tend to use these things, and yes, they have electrolytes and stuff in them, but they're very foul tasting. They're very strong, and the stronger taste that it has, the more that our brain starts to switch the messaging.
Mm.
So keep that in mind too. That it's not the actual chemical makeup of this thing; it's the taste that then makes us to do this. And there's a
Mhm.
lot of placebo research on if they make a drink that is a medication type drink, but they make it taste worse, that the person actually has a greater outcome because of how bad it tasted. Because
Wow.
we tend to associate healing agents and medicine with things that taste really bad.
So
The
the
worse that
gross
it tastes, the better it can help me.
the gross cherry like syrup
Yeah,
is
yeah, like
so gross.
Robitussin.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, like it's disgusting,
but it works.
but it works. And you're like, the more that you have to like choke it down, the more that our brain believes that like, okay, yeah, this is gonna be the thing. They wellness shots.
Mm.
Wellness shots do not taste good, but people
Oh,
slurp it down and they go, oh, I feel better. I got this
the
boost.
ginger and the turmeric and the
The-
orange, and it's like, oh.
Exactly, exactly. So keep that in mind. I know it's kind of a paradigm shift, and this isn't just an opinion. This is really well done research from
Hmm.
Martin Schwellnus and his team at their labs in South Africa that's been reproduced and redone and meta-analysis. A lot of research on this. If it
Hmm.
was just an opinion, I would say that, hey, this is my opinion on muscle cramps. No, no, this is what the scientific
Yeah.
evidence is showing us of what is not happening. We still don't have the full answer of what is happening, but we know what's not happening, and we know that these other things that we've been taught to believe are a placebo.
Hmm.